Last week, there was a lot of questioning whether Frank Reich was coaching for his job or not, right? He was going into the Cowboys game. The tides were turning aggressively against him. And we had the conversation, right? Because the question was being asked. It was newsworthy. I think it's more likely, though, that he's coaching for his job this week. Last week, it was the hot question. This week, I think it's more of a real question. You're more likely to be coaching for your job against a bad team than a good team. Because it's like the old journalism thing, right? Is dog bites man, that's not crazy news. Man bites dog, that's news, right? That's a headline. It's good team beats bad team, that's not news, that's expected. Bad team beats bad team. All right, at least there was some up in the air there, right? There was a fair fight that was lost rather than you were just getting beat by a better team. Dallas, who beat Carolina handily a week ago, is 7-3 and has embarrassed a bunch of teams already this year. The Giants multiple times. Why would losing to them cost somebody on the Panthers their job? The Panthers, I mean, even if everything went well this year, right? If they hit on their free agency selections, if Bryce Young was playing like a prodigy, if their interior offensive line stayed fully healthy, they still would have a good chance of losing against the Cowboys. Why would that be the game that's the straw that broke the camel's back? Meanwhile, this week, Tennessee is 3-7. They are the second worst team in the AFC by record. They are being quarterbacked by a guy that went in the second round of the draft that Bryce Young went first overall. That's the kind of game that if you lose, it spurs change. It spurs action. That's the type of loss that hurts. Right? I mean, Dak Prescott is what, a $40 million a year quarterback, $42 million a year quarterback?
Pretty well paid.
If you lose to a $42 million quarterback, it's like, all right, well, we had a rookie. Like, that's wildly explainable.
Yeah, with an established head coach.
Established head coach, a legitimate number one wide receiver, a running back that's on a franchise tag and making $10+ million, some of the best offensive linemen of a generation. We know what the Cowboys bring to the table because Cowboys fans tell us all the time. They're a talented bunch. Losing to them, it's like, well, yeah, we don't have even our best estimations. We were going to hopefully be in the mix for that one. But against Tennessee, ooh, now we're getting interesting. Mm-hmm. Right, you're just another team that lost to the Cowboys. You would be the team that got embarrassed by the guy that went in the second round after you traded up to get Bryce Young. You would be the team that is getting embarrassed by other teams that are often embarrassed this year. The Titans are not one of the better teams in the league. That's the kind of game that ends up coaching for your job. Right? That, like, if you're David Tepper, you bought your what was it, $2-point-something billion toy, right? You bought your team. You're going to play fantasy football in real life. It's easy to be patient when you're winning the games you should, losing the games you should. It's when you lose the games you feel like you should win that get things all amped up, and that is a winnable game. Right? It's the Thursday nighter against Chicago that hurts. Right? If you go look at the Panthers' schedule kind of step by step when you consider the narrative around it, why was the question being asked so often, is Frank Reich coaching for his job when you were going into the Dallas Cowboys game? It's because you had just lost to the Chicago Bears. Those are the losses that spur action. You lose to the Chicago Bears, the conversation got accelerated a ton. Maybe we should ask about his job. And oh, by the way, it was on national television. Everybody was watching, and it's embarrassing. And they were starting Tyson Bagent, a guy that was an undrafted rookie free agent in the class that Bryce Young was the first overall pick in. Then you go to Dallas, and oh, look, even though you lost and lost handily, and Bryce Young threw a pick six, and Bryce Young fumbled, there's really not many questions going on right now about, is Frank Reich coaching for his job this week? Not nearly as many as there were a week ago. Why? Well, because the Dallas loss isn't as bad on paper. You can explain it away. There's reasons rather than excuses. If you lose to Tennessee, you're coming up with excuses. You're not coming up with reasons. Small difference, right? At least to me, there's a small difference. A reason is legitimate. An excuse, you can tell you're grasping at straws. Right? I don't have my homework. Why? My house burned down. Reason.
Yeah.
I don't have my homework. Why? I left my folder at school, so I couldn't do it last night. Excuse. Right? You're grasping at straws. How are we going to prove any of this?
Mm-hmm.
You lose to Dallas. Well, they got a $40 million a year quarterback. They're more talented than us. Reason. You lose to Tennessee. Well, they're making more lemonade out of their lemons, and they're a better coached, better run organization, despite the fact that the talent level may be close to equal. Excuse. Right? That's a lot more difficult to understand as the owner.
So I know there's a lot of people out there that are wondering if Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, is on the hot seat. Now, I'm also wondering as well, like, wait, hold on. From their perspective, you just lost to a 1-9 Panthers team who's not very good.
If they lose, you're right.
Is this old classic loser leaves town match for Vrabel and Reich?
I don't think that's fair to Vrabel.
I don't disagree, but that could be the situation that we're in.
Could be. You want to make this let's play for pink slips? Winner takes Vrabel?
Okay. I mean,
I'd be interested in it. The thing that I like about Vrabel is, like, you know what it is. He's got an identity. The teams he coaches have an identity. If Tennessee, that actually might be what it is, right? There is an element of if you coach a system, you are that system, like, right? If you were an assistant under Jim Boeheim for 20 years and somebody hires you, guess what they want? 2-3 zone. You know what? Like, that's what they're asking for. And if you don't want a 2-3 zone, you don't hire that coach. If you are the Tennessee Titans and you have Mike Vrabel is defense and running the football. That's what he is, right? That's why Derrick Henry made sense there. That's why their defenses were very talented and would punch you in the mouth. That's why Ryan Tannehill was so highly efficient but so low volume, well, even in his best years, because it was all about the running and the defense. Could this be the game that proves to Tennessee they don't want that style of football anymore? Maybe, right? If you're supposed to be tough, hard-nosed defense and running, and you can't bully the Carolina Panthers, maybe they move on from that system. But I can tell you right now, if, let's say, what is it, loser leaves town? Is that kind of how you described it?
Yeah.
Like loser loses their job? If there's a tie and they both lose their job, I know that Mike Vrabel's getting more calls than Frank Reich.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I'm going to phrase this one, right? It might be loser leaves town. I think one of them, it would be more deserving than the other. I'll let you figure out based on the conversation we just had which one I think that would be.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where maybe in Tennessee it's just like, all right, this has kind of run its course.
Just want to see something new.
And just need to just strip it all down. Like, you can move on from Henry and Hopkins, and you know what? You got Will Levis, restart and restructure everything for the next few years, building around him and a different coach and a different style that.
It also might be we're taking what we have for granted for the Titans.
True.
Where it's like, hey, the last 5 years we've been pretty good, but we need to shake it up to get to the next level, and then the next level is 10 straight losing seasons with different coaches.
Very well could be.
Think let me think of a good example here. Caldwell with the Lions.
Detroit, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, we're tired of 9 and 10 win seasons. We need to get to a 12 and 13 win season. Let's move on from Caldwell. Here's half a decade of 3-win seasons. Like, I could see that. I could see Vrabel being the Tennessee Titans of Jim Caldwell.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.